Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things that I did to try to see if it helped out with vine borers, squash bugs. And it seems to help. Yesterday I looked and only had a few blooms that was trying to come back. And this is a variety of squash. And yesterday I seen a few blooms, but you know, it looked like the plants was finished. Now we're in the middle, little lower end of June. And most of the time, because of vine borer squash bugs, the plants give up the ghost. So one of the things that I do is early in the morning is go through here and look for insects. And look for eggs and see if you can usually see them sitting on top because the sun is not up. And you can get them really easy. Because like that was a stink bug, it can damage your fruit. It will damage anything it touches because it likes to eat, and it just really messes up everything. So I go through here and I look, and when the sun comes up, which is cloudy day at this point in time, but most of the time at this time of the morning, which is probably about 6:30 a.m., the sun is shining, and the sun will shine through these leaves, and I'll reach down and you can see if you can see any eggs that's on there. You can see any insects because it's kind of like the sun hits the leaves, it shines through, and you can see the shadowing, or you can see the eggs. So as you can tell, there's not any blooms. There's one there, and it is a male. Now, will these reproduce? That's a good question, because the only thing I see on here so far is male blooms. So it looks like that they will reproduce again if they're putting out male blooms. All these are males. So the first thing I did after these plants were coming up and they wasn't very big was I put, and I don't know if this is true or not, I put fish emulsion. I poured it at the base. I poured it straight from the bottle. And so far it seems not only did that fertilize it, but it looks like that, and this plant is dying out, but it looks like that it helped with that. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I did just to give it a run. The second thing I did as the plants grew, as I did last year and tested it, because your enemy gets into the base here and it bores in there, and then it takes and it kills the plant. And so what I did is that when these plants were getting up in size, not too big, I took garden spray and I sprayed it down at the root area. So if there was anything in there, or to put that in there. Once again, I don't know if this works, but this is what I've been doing. I did it last year and I did it this year. So and I did only do that 2 times. So I used garden spray. The third theory is that I always want to get around and try to grow vertical. Vertical growing on squashes would take some work. And it would be a lot of work to try to for me. I mean, because once the squashes take off, they're gone. They turn around and grow real fast. So I said, well, you know, I'm just not going to get to it. I wanted to try it, see if it helped keep the lower leaves off. And so that didn't work out. Just didn't have time for it. And the next thing I did is that when the plants were growing, I started cutting the bottom leaves off of the ground. And now the plants are growing more. You see them leaning over. We see that all that leaf right there. I would cut them off. Now, the reason those bottom leaves, it helps to protect the soil, but it also helps prop the plant up as it grows. Now, I haven't done it in about a week. I think about a week. And but that helped me not only to get some of these leaves out of here, so I could see the insects, so I could see the eggs. It kept the leaves off of the ground because of insects. That seemed to work. That was a lot easier. You know, if you take these squashes and grow vertically, you still got to cut the leaves off as it grows to keep them off the ground. So I said, well, you know, I'm just going to keep cutting these leaves off. So yesterday I came out here to take a look at these squash to see if I had any squash. I know that it was, you know, the production had really slowed down because squashes, like any other plant, it comes off small, it comes on small, it produces a lot, and then it fizzes out. And so I didn't see any squash. And I did take a notice of the base here of my leaves touching the ground also. And I'm just trying to decide now, because usually these squash plants, this is it, you know. But then I noticed the male plant. The male plant has a long stem. The bees are still active out here, not as much because there's not many blooms. There wasn't but a couple yesterday. I believe there was just a couple starting that hadn't bloomed out. And so I believe that cutting these base off right here, keeping these leaves off the ground, keeping where I could see up under there, keeping airflow, keeping some sun there because insects don't like the sun. Sometimes I would even, like this has got a lot of leaves. You can tell these are new leaves because all the old leaves have been cut off. And then sometimes cut like down in here so that sun could reach down to that base. So far I've had really good success. Now I'm looking at these. Now should I come in here? Because the plants look awesome. You know, they're still green. Our heat is kicking in. It's hot and humid here. And then I'm thinking, should I come in here? Because I, you know, been doing this since the growing season. Come in here and cut the rest of these leaves off of the bottom of the ground and see what happens. Because usually I don't have a second time in growing, a second crop of growing squashes. They come on and they're done. And sometimes, you know, the reason people get frustrated is because they'll get their plants up, the season is kicking, and then the plant dies and they lose their production. So I believe, you know, this is something I would definitely do again, is try to keep those leaves off of that ground, open it up so I can get some sun in there and airflow so I can see down in there, and keep some of these leaves out so that I can see really what's going on in there, see if I can find the eggs, find insects, find squash bugs, so I can really see. And I did find eggs about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I found, by doing this, as I was doing this, I found 4 sets of eggs. Now those eggs are like hard shell, and so you can't squish them, and if you touch them they kind of fall off, and they fall into the soil. Well, what are they going to do? They're more than likely going to reproduce, and you don't want to throw them somewhere, because you throw them somewhere, you know, my thought is that those eggs just go on and hatch out. And so then you got that problem, and you know, insects travel, right? So what I did is I pinched the leaf off, folded it up, stuck it in my pocket, and I flushed it down the toilet. Didn't disturb the eggs. Now I found 1 squash bug, and that was the one that was going around laying eggs. So about maybe 4 days later or something like that, I came out here doing the same thing, because you got to stay up with this. And I found another set of eggs. Did the same thing. And so far, I don't see an insect problem. So far, my squash is still producing to a degree because it's got the male blooms, but the plants look wonderful. So now what we're going to do, and see, like leaves like that, I'll just take it off. But any diseased leaves or any leaves that doesn't look good, you see that? That would be one I would take off. Anything that didn't look good, I would take it off. And so far, because I've been hit by them, and it is frustrating to a degree when your production is starting to rock, and then the plant dies. Now you got to time, money into it. You didn't get the harvest that you wanted, and you feel like it was a failure because you go through it year after year. So I think I will come in here. What do I have to lose, right? Those are all male plants. Blooms. And I see growth coming out. So I think what I'm going to do now to see what's going to happen. Now see what's going to happen, because I have nothing to lose, is cut those leaves off that's touching near that ground where I can't see. But usually I've had squash grow it'll continue growing. They'll continue growing, and you can tell we're at that time of the season that things are starting to fizz out a little bit. And I don't keep plants in my garden that just draws insects when the plant is not going to produce much or has starting to fizz out. Just a few string beans or the next little small batch of string beans is not worth it to me, with the insects usually start attacking the plant. The pink owl purple hulls are doing super well, and looks like snake territory, right? You can't walk in fear. I could tell where the row is and put my boots on, but things are starting to fizz out here, and that's string beans over there, and a portion. We had so much rain, the ground is still wet, that these right here didn't do good. Pretty sure that fertilizer just washed on down there, and that's where the potatoes was at. So, squash bugs, vine borers, would this help? Well, so far it's helped with me, and this is something I would definitely do again. Put some fishing mulching. That's good for fertilizer, straight from the bottle. Pour it right at the base. As the plants start growing, you think you might get to that time, that season, where squash bugs, vine borers. I took a sprayer and sprayed garden spray at that base so it could soak into that soil. Now, I don't like doing that, but at the same time, I'm experimenting. Look, check this out. See, that's why it's important to come through here and check your plants out, because it won't take very long for those eggs to hatch out. Because insects, this is their season. This is their season to mate and reproduce. But the garden spray, I don't like doing that, but I'm experimenting with these squash. It's only once or twice. I think it was once, because the plant's growing, so that's going to pretty much come out of the plants. It's going to, it's not going to like stick around with the plant. And then cutting these branches off, keep the plant off the ground. The wind can kind of blow them around, but you see it's held up so far because I tried to keep the base like that to brace it. Now that's rotting out. See, it's going to eventually deteriorate, but that's that right there. And now we're dealing with disease because it's getting hot and humid, because the plants ain't going to be here, I don't think, very much longer. I'm surprised they still are, because we could deal with this heat and humidity, powdery mildew, and if they starts taking it over, then I'm getting them out. The only reason they're here at the moment is because they look so good, and I'm experimenting to see if this really works out, which so far has worked out. The plants are alive. They're putting out blooms, male blooms. So I just want to share this with you. Something you might try. I mean, we have nothing to lose. You know, when we're trying to battle this insect issue with the squashes. See you on to the next video.